asset? Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best? There is no second best. There's a crypto asset, it's called Bitcoin, right? There is no second best. Bitcoin or no? Bitcoin. Bitcoin's crypto asset. This entire idea of like 60% dominance is bullshit, ridiculous. There's no second best crypto asset. No, there is no second best. There's a crypto asset, it's called Bitcoin, right? No, there is no second best.
All right. Gets a little redundant, so I'm going to probably end it right there. Hopefully everybody's having a good day today. Let's pull up some stuff. We got lots going on. We have 245% now, chat? I don't know. You guys got to help me out here. What are we at anymore? Does it even matter? All right. So, a bunch of stuff going on the tariff Trump front. Let's try and cover some of it. We've got Trump saying he will attend the meeting along with Treasury and Commerce secretaries for their discussion with Japan. There's a top list of like 5 that we're looking to negotiate with. Europe did not make the list. The UK did, a bunch of others did. South Korea, Japan, a few others. But the EU did not make it, even though, again, we got dialogue going back and forth right now between, it sounds like serious dialogue between about 15 different countries. Eunice Yoon, my favorite reporter out of China, said China replaces top trade negotiating official as talks with Washington stall. They haven't really started. China has appointed Li Qinggang as Vice Minister of Commerce and top representative for international trade negotiation, according to an official statement, replacing Wang Shouwen. This is fascinating because they've been replacing military leaders. Now they're replacing diplomatic leaders. There's a lot going on. Christoph said Trump presses China to make tariff offer to calm trade war. Again, I think that's why we're ramping up to 245%. Hong Kong actually said they're not going to deliver U.S. postal anymore. So there's a lot of like little nuances. No more Hollywood movies in China. Just a bunch of stupid shit, honestly. Not really great retaliatory efforts. But at 240%, it's pretty much over. There is no more trade with China. And again, Tom Lee here, the White House prioritized 5 regions and nations for trade deals in the EU. Best evidence is Lutnick is in EU. Besant leading talks with the... So they're giving the B team to the EU and they're giving the A team to the other 5. I think that's probably a pretty good sign. And here's the official statement, but it says White House officials say now faces up to 245% tariffs as consequences of the most recent retaliation. So it's not in effect yet. But it looks like it's just, again, additional pressure. We're just ramping it up to a point of extremes. In here, I know there's been reports, too, of like 130 countries that are talking with them actively. But in here, and this is an official White House statement, it says more than 75 countries. So that's a clarification from other posts. And China, again, got rid of, they said that they weren't going to have, this is kind of funny, actually. So they said that they weren't going to have... we're going to continue their purchase of Boeing aircrafts. This is interesting. There's a couple notes here. So customers from China have only ordered 28 aircrafts since 2018. And China is 2% of Boeing's large backlog that is sold out through 2030 with other customers, per Goldman Sachs. So them saying that they're not going to buy Boeing aircraft is almost completely pointless and means nothing. And now Russia, in their talks with the United States, has indicated, hey, you know what we could use? Can we get some of those Boeing aircrafts? So it's like the responses from China aren't even real anymore. And then again, because of tariffs, I want to say, ready to start production. AMD prepares for first made in the USA American chips. We've got NVIDIA looking to do the same kind of stuff. We've got Honda looking to produce the next Civic in Indiana, not Mexico, due to U.S. tariffs. And Canada has agreed to provide a 6-month delay for certain retaliatory tariffs. The government intends to provide temporary 6-month relief for goods imported from the U.S. that are used in Canadian manufacturing, processing, and food and beverage packaging, and for those to support public health, healthcare, public safety, and national security. It's actually a decent amount. I don't have the exact figure here, but it's a decent amount of the tariffs. I'll try and get you a real number later. And good morning to chat, everybody that's here. I'm going to try and rock and roll as much as I can, as quickly as I can today. Today is the day, too, to where we get more information about, net flows from countries. I do have some of that for you, at least some preliminary numbers that are kind of interesting. Bradford Ferguson said the media is painting Trump into a corner so he cannot win, to those who are gullible. Oh, I think I talked about this one yesterday. Just saying that no matter what, it's Trump caving. We're going to jump to China because I feel like, morning champ, back at you, CJ. I feel like people need to know China better, okay? People need to know China better, and I've got a few people from China that I've been talking to more that are doing a really good job kind of providing a clearer picture of what China, the CCP, is all about. So this one says, everyone in China's 15-minute cities are living in gated compounds with only one entrance. During COVID, residents must scan their digital vaccine passport or real ID to pass a checkpoint. If their vaccine passport expires immediately, an alarm goes off and they'll be questioned and sent off to a quarantine camp. This is during COVID. This went on for 3 years. If you guys really believe that they have a 5% GDP number, you're just a fucking idiot or aren't even paying attention right now. Some of the latest data points, people are like, Micro, you look at this, it doesn't seem like China's doing bad. I'm like, they've eliminated 90% of their economic metrics since the pandemic. They locked down their fucking country for 3 years, sticking swabs up people's noses and literally fusing them into their homes, sealing the doors. There are people that died, that burned alive in buildings because their building was locked down and they couldn't get out of it during fires. That actually led people to rioting and calling for the overthrow of the CCP and Xi Jinping. And Xi Jinping, it got so bad over a period of several weeks that they opened up to the rest of the world after 3 years of doing this stupid shit. So understand what is actually happening in China. Can you imagine this in America? People idolize this country. Can you imagine having one of those alarms go off and then you're thrown in this shit, hoping somebody comes to feed you because you're a prisoner? This is China. This is what a dictatorship led with communism gets you. This is what you get from it. Again, this is insane. And the fact that anybody looks at China as an example for the rest of the world. What's this right here? Let's listen to this. So listen to this. A jail dedicated to lock up blacklisted Chinese personnel. These are people with really bad social credit scores. If you're blacklisted by the social credit scoring system, by law, authorities can legally put you in jail without a trial twice a year for 15 days at a time. That is a month out of a year that they can imprison you for no fucking reason. And they've got their torture chair right here where they can literally lock you into place, your arms and your legs, and do whatever they want to. This is China. This is what some people idolize. Why? Why is this something? And why is there like a video showing how great it is? And also, there's homelessness all over China. You never see this from the propaganda videos. It's everywhere. There's tons of poor fucking people in China, guys. And some of them are young. They have no money. They have no money. They can't even get jobs. This is only getting worse. Guys, Jesse is live in 4:15 stream. I know, I fucked it up. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I should, you know what? I realized that too. Here, let me go over here. I think I can, I'm just going to leave it that way. I'm going to kill the other stream. I'm going to bring this other one back alive real quick. I should probably do that. So let me kill this one. Delete forever. That'll eliminate some confusion. And then I will rename this other one super fast. Just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. And I'm going to call it 416 because that's a better name. Sorry, not my game today. I apologize. I apologize. All right, let me go back over here and I will get in the right one. All right, there we go. So we got it renamed. We're in the right chat. We're good. But yeah, poverty is all over China. Chinese press reports note that certain Chinese banks are cutting deposit rates to 2%. They're trying to stimulate spending. They are desperate to get people to spend. Nobody wants to spend, though, when they think they're losing their job tomorrow. This is one of the fun things about deep recessions and depressions, albeit you would not know it from China's latest data. And if you doubt our resolve on these tariffs with China, then you should listen to this video.
Has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America.
No, I didn't see that, Cody, but that sounds retarded. Yeah, so Kobayashi letter. Hong Kong announces suspension of postal service heading to the United States. Okay, cool. China open to talks. Wait a second. What's happening now? They were open to talks? This is fascinating. China wants the U.S. to show more respect by reining in disparaging remarks by members of Trump's cabinet before agreeing to trade talks. Nobody's doing that. Beijing also wants a more consistent U.S. position and willingness to address China's concerns around American sanctions in Taiwan. Okay, we don't give a shit. China wants the U.S. to appoint a person for talks who has Trump's support and can help prepare a deal. Okay, we might be able to do that one. All right. And then here, again, the Chinese metrics. So let's see how bad China's doing, right? We know they locked their people up for 3 fucking years, had to stimulate their economy to keep it to survive, killed millions of small businesses during that time. Then they made brilliant decisions like trying to kill other markets in manufacturing, pushing oversupply and subsidies of all of their goods like the EV sector and other stuff when the world already had too much of them so that they could show pretty chart go up. And they just kept subsidizing companies that would otherwise be bankrupt. That just sounds like a great approach, doesn't it? So what have they done? Oh, their GDP's up, guys. Their March unemployment rate fell. Does anybody believe this? Their retail sales are up. Oh, they were only supposed to have 4.2. They're at 5.9, guys. Invest in China. China industrial output. Wow, it blew away the numbers, guys. This is so amazing. If only they hadn't removed 90% of their economic data so that people can't cross-check or validate anything, then we could maybe believe this with some iota. But there isn't. Like, there's no... Again, it's just... CCP. Aren't they wonderful? For the record, Wall Street Group think on China ignore simple facts. 43% of China's external debt is in USD. It isn't just a stat. It's a double-edged sword, and anyone spinning it otherwise is peddling fiction. It's a strength, sure, hooking China into the dollar's global veins, scoring liquidity and investor nods, but don't kid yourself. It's a glaring weakness, too. Every USD hiccup or Fed power play leaves Beijing exposed, sweating bullets for Uncle Sam's mercy. And this is all true. I think we talked about that before, but it's all true. China Stats Bureau says U.S. tariffs will not change the long-term improving trend in China's trying to tell you right now, that their trend is improving and that this has no impact on them. Anybody who believes that's just an absolute fool. All about Nvidia Powell today. Yeah, definitely. So we got the Nvidia impact too. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's jump over here real quick. Gold over 3,300. I actually think we're coming to an end to that. Here, let's jump over to something else real fast. 1 second here. 1 sec. So I think we're coming to an end of it. I wanted to show this example too. So this is what gold looks like. Gold has a longer time frame. It's bigger. Think of it as bigger and slower, right? It's much more drawn out in its path. Bitcoin is a much more accelerated version of that because it's like a tenth the size, right? So maybe even less than that now. I should probably do a comparison and get an updated number. But so you're going to see a different time frame here, but that's just because of the size difference and the fact that it moves slower. Lately, quicker. But if you look here, it's in the parabolic move. If I had the fib here, I should actually probably put the fib over here. Silver will go out probably even quicker. Silver's like the shit coin of gold, right? Like it's the shit coins. So I wouldn't focus a lot on silver. Again, with gold, guys, you have this problem where it's not easily divisible. It's not easily transportable. It's centralized. Anybody trying to sell gold, see how easy that is to do, and see how much of a discount you end up selling it for. Because again, people buying gold right now, they don't want to pay the exorbitant prices for the gold that they're purchasing. They want to get it at a discount in case the price drops in the future, especially when you're in a parabola, right? When you're in a parabola and you've moved up a lot, they don't want to pay premium. And we know China's buying a lot of this. I've got to pull up some of those charts. So the buying every day is China, guys, like every day. But Bitcoin comes next, and Bitcoin's a much smaller vessel. And so when it has its opportunity, I would just say this: do not listen to Peter Schiff and jump out of Bitcoin. And you could sell your altcoins. I don't give a shit about that. But don't jump out of Bitcoin and then go into gold. That would be a very bad decision for you. I actually want to go back. I'm going to jump over here real quick. I do want to show, I don't know how well it's bookmarked. Sometimes I don't get all those in. Here, I should have actually put this over here. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff, guys, especially with the latest tariff news. It is endless. It is endless, the amount of data points that are coming in. Real quickly, so everybody talks about bankruptcies. This is a good one from Seth Golden. So again, bar chart throughout their bankruptcy chart. Let's just look at this. It's like, oh, bankruptcies are getting bad, guys. Oh, bankruptcies ticking up. But what he shows you here is actually bankruptcies. If you look at cases filed in 2022, 2023, 2024, the trend is actually that. And they are elevated, but this isn't the end of the world by any means. This isn't like a much larger number than it normally is. Poverty is all over the USA, but nothing like China has going on, especially, rural is bad. Again, you have 1/3 of the population that are immigrant laborers that don't even have the same rights as other people. They can't even enroll their kids in school and bring them along. They just have to go from their small little towns and rural areas, and they have to rush in to find jobs. The only problem is there are no jobs anymore. Which is really bad. And again, right here. So if you look at this, China opens and gold soars. China is buying all the gold. They're buying all the gold. It's very easy. You can see the opens and what happens to the gold price. It surges on open. Right now it's up 2.41%, 2.42%. Let me pull it over here real quick and show you if I can get it in the right place. Right here. So again, this is just a massive parabolic move at $3,300. I think my Robinhood Gold card is now probably worth over $1,500, guys. Isn't that great? I'm gaining money on my credit card without spending anything. Isn't that amazing? And by the way, the rewards are really great. I love my Robinhood Gold card. But yeah, so we're in the parabola phase. If I drew, you know what? Maybe I should do that real quick. Let me do this. So I'm going to draw the trend-based fib extension. We are literally in the definition of the parabolic phase. So I just want to show this to you. And I did switch this over to gold in ounces. This is it, guys. Like, this is fucking crazy. It is super rare that you would go up into this zone. It is super rare. And when I say super rare, I am not kidding. Like, it is, from a technical standpoint, this is the banana zone. And I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. I'm going to probably drop this to the weekly because I want to make sure I'm getting my lines just perfect. But yeah, for gold, guys, this is a weird area to be. This is one that historically will not last long either. So just remember that, yeah, so when I adjust it, we've already went through the blue, which is crazy. And now we're in the red. And this is the banana zone. This is the end game. It's very hard to get much higher than this. It can go, again, it can have a parabolic top. But here's the problem. China's dumping into this right now. And what happens when the price starts to fall? What happens if the U.S. government does start to reprices their gold and then starts to sell some of it in order to be able to in a budget neutral way in order to be able to buy Bitcoin? What happens to gold? It would just cascade. China would be the only buyer. It would be like when everybody switched to the gold standard and China instead was sticking with silver. It would just be an apocalyptic event for them. So I'm getting very interested. Yeah, 245% tariffs. We're crashing. That's funny. The market actually isn't doing too bad. MicroStrategy's down 1%. Bitcoin miners are down about 1.5%. Tesla's down about 1.7%. There's news, in case you missed it, where China seems like they want to talk. Isn't that funny? Isn't it funny that they want to talk? It's how long has it been? Can you guys tell me how long has it been that we've had these really high tariffs on China and now they want to talk? There's actually something else I wanted to see if I can find here. I might have forgot it on top of just showing the poverty and all the chaos in here. Maybe I skipped it. Right here. So this is funny. So this is from Walter Bloomberg. Let me get back to it here. I had one of my other things in here, but I wanted to show this. This is from Walter Bloomberg, and I put looks like China is the one caving. Sure hasn't taken long. Quite shocking for a country with a 5+% GDP. So China, again, and we kind of read this in another one. Oh, my screen is super low or slow. China open to talks if Trump shows respect. China wants Trump to rein in cabinet members and show consistency. China wants U.S. to address concerns about Taiwan. It's just funny because they said, hey, you know what? We're not talking to you. This is stupid. You guys come to us. And then we've raised tariffs. We've leaned in even more. We've told them that literally we don't even need you. You need us. With Caroline Levitt in her updates. And now they're like defining more terms to try and get a negotiation to happen. I think that's fascinating. I put gold will be China's Achilles heel off this Zero Hedge post. It shows how China was adding just a ton of gold, 50 tons of gold in February. China reported 5 tons of gold purchased in February. China actually bought 50 tons of gold in February per Goldman Sachs. So they reported that they only bought, the People's Bank of China reported that they only bought 5, but they actually bought 50. They changed the guy leading the talks. Yep, all those things. Yes. And then again, we've got a weapon. This delisting of Chinese stocks, guys. I watched some hearings. I'm trying to do a lot at once. I watched some hearings talking about this, and they are fucking serious. There are parts of this administration that want to delist these Chinese stocks, and they want to have this approved through Congress. I think that's the only way they can do it. So China loves gold and real estate. Well, they don't love real estate for at least 5 or 6 years because it's been in a downward trend. And there's parts of China where people have lost 75% of the value of their homes. So they don't love real estate, and soon they might not love gold, which would be painful. Because again, everything tops. Everything tops. And gold, when you're talking like 50%, 100% moves, these are big moves in gold standards, guys. So it will come back down. Let me see. I don't know if there's anything else that interesting here. Nah, we're good. Fed wants to lower rates, but also tariffs that can cause inflation. There's some interesting stuff that I want to talk about in regard to the Fed and how they're handling it. First, I want to look at some other stuff here, guys. Let's look at the 10-year. What's the 10-year? What did everybody say about the 10-year? Oh, it's going to the moon, yada, yada, yada. Fascinatingly, it's not. It's actually starting to drop again. And we see a lot of stuff happening, right? The VIX is actually up a little bit again. It's at 3160. But we do see the MOVE index coming back down to earth. I'm actually going to move some lines here real quick because I want to see the next point that we get to. The MOVE index is coming back to earth. It looks like it's starting to roll over. That's a good thing. And the MOVE index is not like a regular technical chart, guys. If you look here, You could see what happened back in 2003, 4. I don't even remember what this was, but there was a tick up in the MOVE index, but then it just traded down for years into 2007. Then you had the great financial crisis and the end of October when this thing peaks. This thing peaks. This is the bond volatility index. It peaks when the absolute worst levels of fear and you're at the bottomy bottom, right? So that's how we got up here. Then we trended down for years and years and years and years and years. Basically, outside of the Fed, I don't even know if it registers in here. Yeah, the 2018 Fed raising rates doesn't even show. It's like this little thing here. But we basically trended down from 2009 all the way down really till 2019. So a decade of just outsized gains in the markets. Then we had the pandemic. You can see how high up it shot. Then it went back down really quickly, right? And now, more recently here, we peaked out in March of 2023. I think that was the Silicon Valley bank crisis when we thought banks were going to dissolve. And again, we've had this little tick up, but we've got years of downward trend. Years. That's what history tells us about this. It tells us years. And I've got this under the wrong thing. It says 10-year Japan, and yet it is my MOVE bond volatility index. I'm going to have to fix that one. But yeah, so we're seeing a lot of craziness here. We're also seeing this. We're seeing the cracks. You can lie as much as you want, China. You can lie about a lot of things, but you can't lie about your 10-year bond. And so we're seeing this thing ticking lower. I'm going to put it right over here. And then, so I've got one indicator for when it starts to tick down over the last several weeks lows. And then I've got another one where it's going to let us know where it's at the lowest levels it's ever been. So we'll keep an eye on that. But you could see, again, where when the tariffs kicked in, it destroyed their bond market even more. Down. It's 1.64% interest they're willing to pay you on a 10-year bond. I think that says a lot. That's very, very, very timely and very fascinating to see that kind of return, that kind of shitty return on a Chinese bond. It is not good at all. We've also got the 2-year starting to roll over in the United States. We're going to look at a few other things. But you can see how this is starting to come back down again. We had this resistance line, didn't even make it back up to it. So and guys, a lot of the selling that's been occurring wasn't from foreigners. It was from the U.S. Isn't that fascinating? We'll talk about some of that too in some posts that we have. Powell's out May 26th. We got to talk about that. Can't come soon enough. There is something that I want to talk about in that, and that's going to be coming up here in a second. Yeah, dude, here in Spain, all gambling places are Chinese. I believe that. Rose Gold Gunner, I like how Elon is kind of playing it cool with this whole U.S. He's not saying anything, is he? But he's spending a lot of time with Trump. Remember that. Seth Golden, in 2001, airlines are done for. People will fly less. But that didn't happen. 2008, the era of big banking centers are done. Well, they're bigger than ever. 2020, the society will never recover from the pandemic. It seems like we did. 2025, American exceptionalism is dead. No, it's not. Bank of America, HeartNet, short SPX until Fed cuts rates and U.S.-China pause trade war in order to ease the risk of a global recession. He put a check in here for has not achieved an annual SPX target since 2018. He's talking about Bank of America. They haven't gotten anything right. 6 years of being wrong, so maybe don't listen to this. Then another check-in has called 18 of the last 4 corrections since the pandemic. So true, so true. I put lending markets are frozen. The Fed can help us with this. They can help us with the supplemental leverage ratio. There's a good little, Andre Stelino Larson has a good one on that. I'll show it to you. So again, we can open up markets for refi, for car loans, for credit card, bank transfer offers. We can do all of that. Just by modifying the supplemental leverage ratio to be able to allow them to expand their balance sheets. Why or how does BTC follow gold? What's the correlation? I don't know if you've heard this, Tyler, but they're both considered a store of value. So the correlation, you can just look at it throughout time. I think I have a pretty chart that I'll show you later that talks about that, or actually just shows you it. Ryan Detrick last Wednesday saw 98% 98.6% of all the volume on the NYSE Advance. That was the highest ever using data going back to 1980. Dates like 1982 and March of 2009 are in there, and strong future returns are quite impressive. So again, historical levels telling us that we're going to do quite well. Banana 3 Stock says, I'm highly certain you are here. Peak fear, peak negative sentiment. Bookmark this. I agree. I think we're in the bear trap zone on a lot of things. JP Morgan says there's very little stress at the consumer level. Really? Okay. Well, that must not be bad. Inflation cools to a 4-year low while Trump tackles trade imbalance. U.S. inflation dropped to 2.4% in March, lowest since early 2021. Core inflation fell below 3%, and 3 years as gas prices dipped 10%. Housing costs show signs of improvement at 4%, the slowest increase since November of 2021. So again, doesn't fit the narrative at all. Lucas King, test. Credit is tightening all over. U.S. car loan applications are being rejected at the highest rate in more than a decade. Seems like we should modify the supplemental leverage ratio and maybe lower rates. Bank of America doesn't see a recession in 2025 and no rate cuts, says CEO. Wait a second. I'm confused. What did you guys say? You guys said what? You guys said Bank of America Hartnett short the SPX until Fed rate cuts and China pause trade to ease the risk of so you guys said we need to do these things just to ease the chance of a global recession, but you also told us that you don't see one. That's helpful. Thank you for just covering all the bases. Very helpful. Just slow growth. Okay, great. So really pretty much anything can happen. Thank you, Bank of America. You're great. Breaking gold fund net inflows have hit a record $80 billion year to date. This is 2 times more than the previous high set in the full year of 2020. Investors are pouring money into gold. China is at a record pace as the market uncertainty has skyrocketed. As a result, gold prices have rallied 22% year to date and have outperformed every other major asset class. Gold prices have also hit 52 all-time highs over the last year, posting the best streak in 12 years. Gold is the global safe haven for now. All right, let me go down here. U.S. earnings revisions are really low. We're actually seeing earnings ticking up a little bit better from yesterday's numbers, and I'll just show you this real quick. Again, don't like sharing all of Tom Lee's proprietary information, but 33 companies reporting this week. Of the 38 companies that have reported so far, 8% of the S&P. We've got a 58% beat. I think we were roughly at like 52, 53 yesterday. And they're beating by a median of 9%, which is a pretty big beat. 29% missing. Those misses are negative 3%, so not quite what the beats are. On the top line, overall results are beating estimates by a median of 2% and missing by a median of negative 2%. And 55% of those reporting are beating estimates. So we're actually seeing these numbers improving for earnings, despite the fact that revisions and expectations are very, very low. Kobayashi says volatility in U.S. Treasuries has been truly historic. The 10-year note surged over 50 basis points in 1 week, marking the largest weekly increase since 2001. But again, now it's falling. We've got this, which I think is fascinating. We've got the U.S. budget deficit dropped $76 billion year over year in March to $161 billion, the lowest in 5 years. Is that the narrative that's out there? Can you guys tell me? Is that the narrative you guys see everywhere? That we're looking at the lowest budget deficit year over year in 5 years? That's not the one I'm seeing. We got some data here. We're gonna have a little Rick Schmantelli. I just got to pull it up real quick. So let's look at what we got. We got retail sales 1.4% month over month, beating consensus of 1.3 and forecast of 1.1. We got retail sales control group 0.4%. That's in between consensus and forecast. We got retail sales ex autos, again, month over month, beating expectations. So if you subtract auto, we're blowing away the 0.3 consensus and the 0.1 forecast. Retail sales year over year, 4.6, blowing away the forecast of 2.6. That doesn't fit any narratives that I've been seeing at all. At all. Also, if we look up here at Great Britain's inflation, let's just take a look here. Inflation year over year, 2.6% actual, consensus 2.7, forecast 2.8. It's almost like the economies are slowing around the world. Core inflation at 3.4 comes in line for consensus and forecast. Again, think energy and stuff like that. And yeah, let's see, month over month. Yeah, just the inflation rate, 0.3% versus 0.4 consensus and forecast. Retail prices index year over year, 3.2%, coming pretty much in line with consensus and forecast. So just everything we're seeing, guys, telling us that the U.S. is strong and resilient, and that we're not seeing a lot of inflation. Let's listen to Rick Schmantelli talk about what's going on real quick here.
Standing by at the CME in Chicago.
By the way, guys, I don't know if you noticed this in the bottom corner, but we still see Bitcoin. Oh, we don't see Bitcoin. I better fix that. Boy, I'm not Johnny on the spot today, am I? Let me get that up. All right, so we still see Bitcoin, guys, doing really well. If you look over here, what is it doing? It is following perfectly on that breakout line going back to January. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Rick Schmantelli.
Rick, about time for these numbers. And I'm going to hit you right at 8:30.
Yes, these in industrial production. You know, auto tariffs were announced on March 26. This is March data. We might start seeing some impact. Retail sales, the advanced look for March. Exactly.
We might see some impact, guys, and it's really fucking great. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, TradingView. They were giving me an 80% discount offer. If anybody's interested in TradingView, I'll throw out a referral link here in a little bit, but it's a good price.
Expected up 1.4%.
This is like the stuff they usually do during like holidays, like Black Friday sales. This is actually probably one of the better ones I've seen.
Still don't see revisions, and do keep in mind, we want to see
I want to see those revisions.
X-Autos, 0.5, a little better than anticipated. And even though it is a fraction of 1.4, it is obviously a pretty good number when you consider that it's the best number of the year. We had up 0.6. That was in December. And last month, in revisions coming in, last month was revised double plus from 0.3 to 0.7. And the reason I'm really concentrating on autos is that big ticket purchase item that many may be looking to get ahead of potential tariffs
There's a referral
on,
link, guys.
maybe a bit reflected in these numbers. Now let's strip out gas in addition to autos, and it's still really
just
strong.
double check before you
up
sign anything.
8/10, up 8/10. That would be the best number since SEP of last year when it was up 1.2, and that now equals our last look, another revision from 0.5% to up 0.8. And finally, the core
I love how the revisions are getting better.
number, the control number, input in other data like GDP, comes in on the light side, up 0.4. We're expecting a bit more horsepower there, but
It's a great
in the rearview
number.
mirror, up 1%, zooms up to 1.3. 1.3 would equal where we were in September. You have to go all the way back to Jan of 23 to find a higher number. So very positive revisions, positive headline number, maybe a little autos, kind of March 26, 25% tariff. Get ahead of that to some extent. We see Treasury yields haven't moved much. The yield curve has implications. Short-dated Treasury yields, most associated with the Fed, are down a handful right now at 380. You're only down 2 in a 10-year at 432. Couple of things real quick, guys. Bank of Canada at 9:45 today. You know, they had a really, really weak jobs number on the 4th of April, down a little over 30,000.
Are they going to lower rates?
So many aren't expecting anything, but that's the wild card, that weak labor. And also ECB, central bank tomorrow. We want to pay close
Oh, it ain't
attention.
working?
And today, 13 billion 20-year bonds at 1 o'clock Eastern. Joe, back to you.
All right,
No,
Rick. Steve Leisman joins us now.
No, it
with
is.
more on the latest.
Here, and it might not be 80 right now, but here, let me show you. So if you click on the link, it depends on the tier you're in, it looks like. So they got premium, expert, ultimate. I don't even know if I have ultimate. They've changed some of this. So the ultimate is 80%. I might need to see if I have that. No, I'm just in. What am I in? Am I not in? Oh, this could just be showing other people's stuff. So you can save up to 80%. So like for premium, it's 70. Expert, it's 60, which is weird. It actually goes down. And then ultimate, it goes up to 80%. So these are like really expensive packages. But I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get people to dial up, because Like the normal essential is $15 a month, but you could basically get premium for $18. So that's a pretty good deal. So it's a 70% discount. It depends on how much you use it and how much money you got. I would like premium because, again, then you get things like the visible range volume profile, which I use all the time. I don't know if it lists it specifically in here. It's probably like in some kind of description, but you can compare all the tiers. But I do think it's a pretty good one. But guys, this is amazing, right? We actually had Rick Santelli giving us a pretty good indication that things are going well right now in the market. Let's listen to what Steve Schmieshman has to say about it as well.
This data, Steve.
So I think these are good numbers, especially the revision.
They're good numbers. Yay, we won. MicroStrategy down 0.68%. Miners are still down about 1.5 on average. Tesla's down about 1.7. NVIDIA, the elephant in the room from H200 delays, is down pretty significantly here, 6.43%. You can't feel bad for NVIDIA, though. It did have a hell of a rocket launch. From what did we even go up? These are good numbers. I still think we're at the bottom, and I actually think this will recover too. But yeah, what did they go up? It went up 33% almost in a very short period of time. It's still up 20%. Maybe now. I never got into my NVIDIA calls. I got into SMCI because I think there's an opportunity there for January 2027s. Maybe I'll play around with some of that too.
Is higher, Joe. But you can't escape the idea that there's some front running in here. You just don't get, let me get this number right, motor vehicle parts up 5.3%. Month to month. That's like so sometimes an annual year-over-year number.
Volume is one thing. Visible range volume profile is another.
And this is making it very difficult.
Are you saying it's on that one?
To figure out what's going on in the economy. I think the good news is we believe that consumers have the wherewithal to spend if they're going to spend, and they apparently did some spending ahead of time before the tariffs. I want to show you a couple charts, not from this data, but from other data that kind of shows what's going on with the front running. First, you can look at autos, and what you see is autos on an annualized basis, they cranked up to 17.8 million units per year. That's a big number, and you can see the bump there in the chart.
Yeah, but okay, whatever. I don't know. He's whatever. X autos, we had a 0.5% month over month, whereas the consensus was 0.3 and 0.1. So I don't care what he has to say about autos. If we subtract those, we still had a crazy number. X autos and gas, if we subtract that, it's 0.8%, whereas they were expecting a forecast of 0.3. So I don't know what he's trying to say. It all looks fucking great. Jesse, get a Bloomberg terminal. We might get some taste too. I don't know if I want one. I don't really see the purpose. I've seen plenty of people that have them, and I've demoed it, and I just don't see the point outside of getting some more updated timeliness and news. I feel like X is better, and it doesn't cost an outrageous amount of money. Could retail sales be higher due to people buying up more goods than usual due to tariff fears? Yes, that's very true. That's probably part of the equation that they're doing that in order to be able to avoid tariffs. I would argue, though, that March is pretty early on it, and the tariff fears were not nearly what they are today. So I would almost argue that retail sales were just strong. If you go back again, we're at the 16th of April right now. If you'd be hard pressed. We didn't even have, we weren't even in the 100% yet by the time April started, right? So I would think that tariff concerns, at least for most of March, were very, very limited. So I would argue that that's probably going to be more pronounced in a month like April. Alona says, Jesse, you're with earnings coming up, hold, buy, sell a bit. I'm not sure what you mean by that. For Tesla? Oh, I don't know. I don't have leverage on Tesla right now because I worry about what could happen with China still, even though they shouldn't do anything, because it would be a really bad move to fuck with a company like Tesla. There's just a few things that you don't want to do. Tesla has been their shining beacon of, hey, look, we work with businesses. We didn't even make these guys partner with another company in China, and we're letting them push their tech. For a while there, they were starting to tighten up. I don't know if you guys remember this, but with Tesla, they were saying things like you can't have Teslas near a government building. They were like all worried that that Tesla was espionage, but they dialed back that rhetoric. They gave them full self-driving and the ability to be able to operate with that, probably because they saw that all of their companies sucked at full self-driving, and they want to be able to steal the tech later. And they probably want Optimus later, so they're willing to do things. They're willing to do things now that they weren't before. To me, it would be outrageous for them to try and do anything to Tesla. But they've also said that they'll be happy to confiscate companies that are within their country. They've said a lot of rhetoric recently that doesn't look super positive. It looks like we're going down a little bit here. So Tesla's down 2%. Miners are down over 2% on average. So we are seeing a little bit of a retracement. I couldn't tell you why unless there's a new news event. Could retail sales be higher due to people? Oh, that was you. Jesse with your earnings. Okay. Might be a rocket ship before Bitcoin takes off. What might be a rocket ship? CleanSpark. Yes, you had questions about CleanSpark. So I actually don't care if they sell a little bit of Bitcoin to finance stuff. It sounds like what they're trying to do now is be able to be like an OTC desk for Bitcoin in case companies or like companies like Coinbase and others might need it. So to me, it shows an intent to be able to sell more Bitcoin in the future. I actually don't hate that idea. I don't know. It's a different business model than Mara, right? Mara is not looking to do a lot of that. Mara has a much bigger amount of Bitcoin right now, but these guys are right up there. I think that this isn't CleanSpark like the second miner for Bitcoin holdings right now. It's really up there. It's a good company. Or I'm sorry, yeah, CleanSpark. Hopefully I said that. But so I don't know. They're different business models. I still think that CleanSpark can do all right. The market did not like it yesterday. CleanSpark was down 6.43%, down 2.34% in pre-market, whereas Mara was only down 2.86 yesterday and now down 2.38 today. So they took a lot less of a hit than what they did. Are you restaking your SOL? No, I've got it to where it's not staked right now, and I can sell it at any time. And we'll see. I might end up doing some of that. I'll probably hold on to it for a while, though. I really don't have any. That's one of my only shit coins right now, so I'm probably going to keep holding it. I'm rocking with Iron on these lows leading up. Yeah, Iron's been beat up. Iron's like one of the worst performing miners. If we look over here, you can't even really see a bounce off of it. Whereas we saw much more impressive jumps with things like Mara and CleanSpark, and even more so. It's the way I've always said it. The biggest containers move first, right? Like gold moves first, then comes Bitcoin. We can start to see some movement in MicroStrategy, which is fascinating. MicroStrategy has been really powerful. It was only down 0.23% yesterday, which is phenomenal. And if you look over here, I mean, what did this thing jump? I want to look at this and just, again, Iron, almost non-existent move, right? Almost non-existent move. We've got MicroStrategy still up 30% from its bounce zone, which is phenomenal. And then if we look over here, I'll drag this back real fast and look at Mara. If we look at Mara, you'll notice it's probably just a little bit less in the way of performance, right? Because again, the big containers move first. Gold is moving like crazy. Bitcoin has actually almost been like a stable coin, I feel like. But yeah, 27% move in Mara. So Mara's done all right. And now let's look at CleanSpark real quick. CleanSpark will probably underperform that, and Iron will underperform CleanSpark. So we've got about now a significant underperformance here, only about 9-10%, whereas Mara is up closer to 30. So you don't always see these subtle nuances when you're just, glancing at things day to day. You don't understand who's outperforming and why. But it looks like people are giving a premium to Bitcoin holdings. MicroStrategy has the largest, Mara has the second, CleanSpark has the third. Iron is not in the list. They have that HPC play, and maybe that'll take off the AI HPC play, but right now, not getting a lot of benefit from it. Let's keep going, though. So we got a budget deficit, guys, that is the best performing year-over-year budget deficit in 5 years. I would say mainly because of Doge's efforts. Jim Bianco, this is fascinating. I wanted to get to this. So he said yesterday, Bessent eyeing some time in fall for discussing next Fed chair. Powell's term ends in May of 2026. Trump will not reappoint him. Will Trump fire him? This is very messy and unknown legally. I don't know if he can. The alternative proposed last year by Scott Bessent was to create a shadow Fed chairman. This is fascinating. That is appoint Powell's replacement months earlier, then let the nominee regularly go on financial TV like Bloomberg, CNBC, all this stuff, an armchair quarterback, and critique every Powell speech and decision, thereby undermining his authority. Should we listen to the guy leaving next May or the person who will be the next Fed chair? So I could totally see this happening later this year, where we have our new Fed chair speaking and talking, and we have Powell getting sidelined by late summer, early fall. I could totally see that. So I wanted to throw that out just to keep that in front of you guys. Besant, we could run up buybacks if we wanted to. So again, many tools in front of us. Buybacks would be one of it. It's not QE, but it is. What a recession. And again, we've already looked at this one. I want to talk to it though. It just shows how unemployment, how initial jobless claims haven't went anywhere. And that's important because if these haven't went anywhere, there's never a recession that I can find where unemployment doesn't skyrocket. I don't see how unemployment skyrockets in an era where we're creating a bunch of jobs and moving a bunch of manufacturing jobs back to the United States. I just don't see it. And because, again, you're going to fill all those jobs and then you're still going to have spending and wages are going to be going up. There's all kinds of good things that are looking to happen right now that do not create a downward spiral recessionary event. I do truly believe we're playing 4D chess right now. Besant is the villain. He's the villain if you like Jerome Powell or if you hate America. He's definitely the villain. JT, sometimes I feel like I'm watching a real-life Netflix House of Cards. Dude, it feels like it right now, bro. I meant rate cuts, sorry. If rates aren't raised, if rate cuts... then the June U.S. debt maturity, Powell will be seen as partisan. Oh, yeah, totally. If that doesn't happen in May, I think he'll be seen as partisan. Because, again, we're seeing kind of conflicting data, but in the right way. We're seeing strong retail sales. We're seeing low unemployment. We're seeing growth slowing in some metrics. But then at the same time, we're seeing disinflation or deflation right out in some areas of the economy. So he does have a little bit to play with for now, for sure. But yeah, not much. Let's see if there's anything else here. Oh, I wanted to talk to this. CTAs, and these are commodity traders. Let me find the exact, I don't remember the exact description off the top of my head. Luckily we have Grok. Commodity trading advisor. Okay, it's advisor. He said they'll be buying U.S. stocks in all market scenarios of the next week or month, estimating purchases between 7.53 billion flat market to an up market of 11.1 billion. So these guys, again, are buyers this time of year. So they're going to be buying no matter what. And what that was showing, I just lost it. I'll have to see if I can find it again. But what that was showing is that this will provide tailwind to markets right now. Oh, right here. This will provide a tail, and it shows your standard deviations from down, standard deviation 1 to 2, but it's still an increase, right? So no matter what, we're looking at additional buying coming in from these guys. Yeah, okay. We already talked about rare earths the other day. Fed preparing bailout over leveraged hedge funds. This will cause a Great Depression. None of that's happening. The Fed isn't looking to bail out hedge funds. And the money printing would actually make you really rich off of Bitcoin. So yeah, that's the truth. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what else we got here. So let's go to, we'll jump to Bitcoin real quick. And then let me just go back over here too. I want to look at the economic calendar and see what's still up. So at 8:15, in about 25 minutes, 15 minutes before the bell, we get industrial production, capacity utilization, manufacturing production. These are going to be really good numbers. Then at 9, we have business inventories. I don't care much about that. Housing market index, don't care. Retail inventories, X autos, I don't care about any of this. So I'm probably going to make it a short day today. What will be fun is for tomorrow, and I'll probably do posts on X tonight, but net long-term tick flows, foreign bond investment, and overall net capital flows will be interesting to look at. I do want to go back, though. Before we go into Bitcoin, I want to find something. It's Andreas Steno Larsen, I thought. Steno? Yeah, okay. Is that him? No, that's not him. Let me see here. Andreas. Did I spell it right? Maybe I didn't spell it right. Andreas. There we go. Don't want to go to the scam accounts. Well, let's see. Tariffs. I thought it was you. Was it you? Oh, yeah, the supplemental leverage ratio. Here's a good post here. So it just says not QE, and SLR exemption for U.S. Treasuries is a very efficient way of bringing term premiums lower, credit growth higher, and credit conditions in an easier direction, basically making it to where people are lending again. And so we've already know that Powell talked about modifying the supplemental leverage ratio. This is just showing some projections of the balance sheet expansion that we'd see if we did that. And that's a great thing. We want to see that. We want to see credit markets loosen up. I thought there was something else he had in here that was interesting. Nah. Nope, that wasn't it. All right, we'll see what else we got. Let's go back over here to the Bitcoin side of things. Sawyer says, Christ is King says, yes, it is. Lol, you will see. This is already hinted to. Do some research. Yeah, okay. Thanks for that. Sawyer, Jesse, I was looking at MSTY dividends. What do you think about it as a dividend play instead of a growth play? I don't know. You got to realize they're using derivatives to try and come up with these returns. I don't know if I love it. You have to, if you don't want it to count as income, if you're doing an IRA or something like that, you need to designate that you don't want it to be income and you want it to be reinvested. So if you're doing that kind of thing, if you're playing in an IRA and you don't want to have income in your IRA, and get a 10% penalty off of that income, a Roth, any kind of IRA, because you're not retired yet, then you might want to at least reinvest with it. But then also just remember that it's a derivatives play. It can break, and it is not directly affiliated with MicroStrategy. I'm still trying to weigh which ones I like the most. I did have an idea of, hey, once I think Bitcoin's topped, starting to take some of those profits and put them into MSTY to get the dividends, because it drops at a much lower rate. So it's kind of a good way to reinvest and then kind of see if we're going to get a bounce. Because when the cycles end, you usually have a big down day, 25% or 25% you could see in a very short period of time. And so that will bounce. You'll have oversold conditions and you'll get a bounce from people speculating that it's not over yet. So you have the ability to play like the last big run in a way that kind of protects your assets, and makes it to where you're still able to get some money off that bounce, not really lose much, and then GTFO if you think it's over. But I'm trying to figure out if MSTY is the tool that I want to use for that or not. I need to figure it out. So again, we got our gold comparison to Bitcoin. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I think that's in here. And Gel has this whole, like, we've done the breakout, we've done the retest, and now it's ready for the moon. I agree with that. And then somebody was asking earlier about, why is Bitcoin going to moon? Well, if you look at Bitcoin and gold, you'll actually see that that gold moves first. Gold is in the white here, and then the dark orange is Bitcoin. And you can see how they move in very similar patterns as far as the overall flow. There's just a slight delay, about 100-day delay. And like I said, the big containers always go first. Gold is the bigger container out of the two, and it goes first. What is gold's market cap? I should check on that. But you can see what gold did, and you can see how Bitcoin's coming next, okay? Also, getting dips around tax time is not a crazy thing in the United States. So Sid says, tax day yesterday, I extended my filing. I'm going to hate looking at my dividends. Oh, yeah? I didn't extend. I paid it. I ended up having to pay $159,000. I got it a little bit lower. But my Cybertruck didn't count towards the $7,500 discount. I didn't get an instant credit at the time because it was very new in the process. And then I didn't know if I would ever get the $7,500 discount. I did not. That came later. So that bummed me out. I was hoping to get that extra $7,500. I like saving money. I'm cheap. But yeah, so you can see what's happening with gold, right? You can see that Bitcoin is likely to follow, just like history tells us. It's pretty easy. I mean, again, these could vary a little bit for periods of time, but this kind of dramatic move in gold, you can see over here when it did it, and you can see Bitcoin following. We are set up for that. And I would expect it to do the exact same thing because it's a store of value too, and it's a better one in almost every comparable way, unless you just like the color of gold and you like the fact that it's malleable. That's maybe it. Try spending it. Micro to macro, I got Bitcoin blows all these away. So this is a very old chart that people love. And this was in just arguing against Peter Schiff. This goes back to the 1800s. So it's a long time, right? But again, the trend is still the same. It doesn't matter how far back you go. but you could see how it says CPI, gold, bills, treasury bills, bonds, and then stocks. And then Bitcoin would just dwarf all of these. So again, you got the gold bugs cheering, running around saying that they've got the best asset on earth and it will always be the best asset on earth. History tells us that that is not the case. Oh, thank you, Haley. Gold market cap is $22.3 trillion, whereas Bitcoin is $1.7 trillion. So it's about like 7%. Bitcoin's about 7% of the size of gold right now. So it can run with much, like, just like I've said before, like Nvidia, when it's in the 3 trillions, it can only go up so much percentage wise. Tesla, when it's under the 1 trillion range, can only go up so much percentage wise. It's currently like 817 billion. So which one do I think is going to perform better percentage wise in the next several years? It's definitely going to be Tesla. But if we look at Palantir, if Palantir keeps doing what they're doing, and they're only in the 200 billions, 230 right now, could they end up performing better than Tesla? Yes, they could. Just based on size alone, they could have the outsized return. So you definitely do not want to convert over to gold here. That would be a horrible idea right near the top, right when China's buying it all and China needs liquidity too. Having a store of value that's went up a lot is great, but once it starts to come down, guess what? If you need liquidity, you start dumping that asset. So gold could have just a freakish drop in the future if we start dumping any of it to buy Bitcoin, and then China is forced to be a seller. It could get really ugly. Zero Hedge says stable coin supply to surge to $2 trillion support USD hegemony. So again, he's right. This supports USD hegemony. Oh, I really do have to subscribe to this guy. How much is he? $125 a month. Maybe. Maybe I'll start with, well, I might get the big one and just check it out. I do like Zero Hedge. Not all the time, but I do like him. But again, just look at the rate of growth that we've seen here, guys, since like late 2023 and US dollar stable coins and how much it's went up since that time. And this is, again, they're backing these things with treasuries, right? So they're supporting the US dollar when they're doing this. And we're seeing these numbers going up like crazy. Bitcoin news said Bitcoin's apparent demand 30-day sum is bouncing from deeply negative territory, suggesting a potential shift in market behavior, according to CryptoQuant data. So again, we went through the depths of it. That was about the third week of March, and now we're looking to climb higher. Don't you think, bro, big gold drop along with markets can lead to recession? Yeah, good news will be if gold drops and market goes up. No, I mean, well, here's the thing. So you can have periods. Let's put it this way. Here's the way it works. If you go back and look at recessions or even depressions, gold goes down with them usually. And so everybody's front running recession buying gold, especially China. They're probably the biggest buyer by far, blowing away retail, blowing away everybody else on the planet. And so they're trying to prepare themselves, thinking that if a recession comes, all these other buyers will pile into gold. But they won't pile into gold if it's already up 100% in a short period of time. What they'll do if a recession comes is they'll start selling their gold because this has been front run so much. And history tells us this too. And they'll start buying other things. The first thing they would buy is Bitcoin. Because if anybody starts seeing their gold going down and they see Bitcoin going up at the same time, because again, its container size is like 7-8% of that of gold. So whatever gold is going down, if people are dumping that, you would see Bitcoin going up by a much larger number than the amount that gold is going down. So I think that's the first container to get filled. And then people will start buying stocks too. And maybe at the very ass end of that, they're going to be interested in bonds, which is not the normal process. Normally, bonds are the safe haven, and we'll see if bonds end up being the safe haven now. Initially, though, I don't think they will be. I think that comes later. I think the U.S. has to prove that, A, we've got growth, B, we're doing all the right stuff with Doge, C, the tariff war goes well, and that's working the way we want it to and opening up trade around the world. So I think that's kind of the order of operations for what we're going to see for gold. Gold dropping, though, doesn't have to cause a recession. It will cause a depression in China if they're not already heading into one right now. Scott Bessent thinks that they're already on the edge of a depression, and that was before 245% tariffs. Bitcoin historian, public Japanese real estate firm value creation to buy 100 million yen worth of Bitcoin. It's clear BTC is no longer speculative. It's digital gold. Again, BlackRock tells us that. Just in, Brazil fintech Melies, probably just crushing that, proposes making Bitcoin investments one of its primary corporate missions. That seems like a pretty good thing. Breaking, publicly traded Similar Scientific files with SEC to buy more Bitcoin. They want to buy $500 million worth of Bitcoin. That seems like a big deal. Van X, Matthew Seigel. This guy's great. I actually think he's brilliant. The U.S. needs to refinance $14 trillion in debt, 8 to 9 this year. Investors want protection from inflation and asset debasement. Enter BIT bonds. 90% Treasury, 10% BTC. Full BTC upside until 4.5%. So if Bitcoin does great, you get a full 4.5% with these bonds. But then at the same time, if Bitcoin, it gives a 50-50 for BTC upside afterwards. So these are arguably maybe even as good or better than MicroStrategy's play. If BIT bonds become a thing and Bitcoin's going up, I will be dumping a lot of my money into BIT bonds as a cash level position. I would totally do that in a heartbeat. And again, so this helps the Treasury because 90% of this is Treasuries, but this also adds to price pressure for more upside for Bitcoin. I just love the concept of this. I think it's going to be huge. Skip that part. I don't even know why that's in here, honestly. Metaplanet issues 10 million USD and 0% ordinary bonds to buy Bitcoin. Binance and the SEC have requested a 60-day extension. Again, we're going easier on some of these companies. We back tested here really well. And yeah, that's probably it for the Bitcoin side of things. TSMC to raise U.S. chip prices by 30%. I heard that. Yep. I don't know that matters, but I did hear that. All right, let's look over here. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go to let's go to Tesla first. I want to talk about Tesla. So there's a Reuters article that was making it sound like Tesla was going to go ahead and stop their cybercab rollout and all this stuff. It's bullshit. Jeff Lutz said Reuters writes a stupid, unsourced article about delays due to a prototype parts, and of course they select Tesla to make up the story about when every tech company on the planet prototyping pre-SOP are getting passives and other ELEC components from China, which are mostly carved out from tariffs, and for Tesla, a low dollar amount. So what he's saying here is that they're trying to make it sound, since Tesla is in low volume production, starter pack production of the Cybercab, that since they're having to pay tariffs, of which are very small amounts for them, because there's been a lot carved out of it, that they are halting production of all this stuff, which is bullshit. He said people are sharing the unsourced article without critically thinking, oh wait, if true, wouldn't this delay every product under development from every automaker and electronics producer developing products outside of China? And the answer would be, by the logic of this dumb article, yes, but it's not. He goes, here's how people who actually do this work think. And again, he's very much intertwined with manufacturing and the whole process and the complexities of it. They would pay the tariffs for short durations of time, no small handfuls of parts, to keep their development efforts on track, knowing 50 to 250% of tariffs are not long-term game plan. And they would also are probably looking for ways to source in order to be able to avoid any kind of tariff impact in the future, especially since Elon Musk has an inside track of what's going on because of his relationship with Donald Trump. Tesla killer. Here's a Tesla killer, guys. Here is the Xiaomi SU7. This is the Porsche, and Porsche is a mess in and of itself. We'll talk about that. But here's the Porsche of China and its inability to handle water driving down the road. And this is crazy. I'm going to turn this down. This is crazy because this car, it doesn't even look like it's going fast around this truck. Watch this. It's just accelerating. It's not doing anything crazy. Boom. Look at that. Right into the wall. Just fucked. Never had that happen with my Tesla Model Y or any of my other Teslas. Also, on that note, if you're in China and you're driving an EV and there's a major car accident, make sure you own a Tesla. Because if you don't, you'll burn alive. you'll burn alive in one of these other Chinese EVs. So you don't want to do that. And this isn't the first occurrence of that. I've showed you another one just like this last week of 3 young women that burned alive inside of their I don't know which one this is. If this is Xpeng, it doesn't look like BYD. I'd have to take a closer look. Tesla. AJ puts, okay, here you go. This shows Rivian and their retained earnings divided by accumulated losses. And then this shows Tesla. Do you think Rivian is even close to Tesla? And again, Rivian's getting crushed by tariffs right now, guys, because they didn't do the same kind of stuff that Tesla did. Starlink, since this is everything Elon, enables real-time video streaming at supersonic and even hypersonic speeds. Hypersonic speeds, you can have streaming real-time video. I don't know if you guys know this. There's something called Star Shield, which is a part of Starlink, and this is used by the U.S. military. Do you think that Starlink and Star Shield might be handy in a war against China, one that China cannot afford? And again, this is what I showed yesterday, just a Tesla driving down a street and literally folding back the mirrors to make sure that it can get through. Pretty thoughtful, pretty awesome stuff. LW Crypto, Reuters is a dim propaganda shit show. You can't even use it as a fish wrap. You guys are great, man. I fucking love you guys. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. All right, let's keep going. So I think I did China already. Oh, CleanSpark. Somebody was asking about CleanSpark too. So yeah, here's the way I look at it. Institutional ownership is buying like crazy. Buying like crazy. Look at these numbers here, guys. Even from where we were, let's just go back. So the miners basically came to a halt right over here, right? And institutional ownership has doubled since that time a year ago. It's doubled. So that's the view that I have towards CleanSpark. Here's the optimistic one from Rex, who is Ben Briggs. I would not put my full name on the internet for any reason. It's a dangerous thing to do. Not smart, Ben. But announces a $200 million Bitcoin-backed line of credit to support accretive growth on non-dilutive terms. So they're trying not to dilute. And they opened an institutional-grade Bitcoin treasury desk. All this means is that they don't want to dilute their stockholders anymore, which is probably a good thing. And that they've taken a loan so that they don't have to sell a bunch of Bitcoin to where they can run their operations and do what they need to do. Rex is so lame. You mean Ben? The company is, but it also company begins selling a portion of its monthly production. So they're not selling all of their Bitcoin. They said, hey, we might start selling some of our Bitcoin, which I think if you're telegraphing that going forward, especially with the next 6 months, historically being the most explosive in Bitcoin, I don't think this is the end of the world. I actually think it might be a smart decision, but I don't care too much. Again, I'm pretty evenly distributed between, I've got most in MicroStrategy, MSTX right now, and that's really been doing really good. And then I've got Mara, and then I've got CleanSpark, kind of in that order, and then I've got some Iron. So I'm pretty well dispersed between all three of those. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm pretty well dispersed between it. Roman Z, they are not allowed to sell the H20 to China. Yeah, NVIDIA is not allowed. Yeah, in case you missed that. NVIDIA is actually down 6.73% in pre-market, and they're not allowed to sell the H200s or H20s. Am I tripping here? Let's see. You'll probably see this news article everywhere. The one fucking day I hold overnight. That guy looks happy. What kind of trading is he doing? What's the time frame? I can't tell. Whatever. So Curbs take the 14% revenue, and NVIDIA gets from Chinese to zero. This should have been done months ago. I agree with this, actually. So, again, James E. Thorne is wonderful, and he's got a great breakdown. And it is the H20. I don't know why I'm thinking 200. NVIDIA warns Trump Curbs. These are less powerful versions of the new Blackwells, by the way. Rex was telling people to dive into FLNC at 550. I don't know what that is. Was that a good trade? Looking over here, the U.S. government has barred NVIDIA from selling its H20 chip in China, citing concerns that the technology could be used in Chinese supercomputers. So this is a much less powerful version than the new Blackwells that are out there that are also being prevented from being sold to China. But again, we're at an economic war with China, and we're preparing for a real one because that's what they've been doing for years. If you actually look at what Chinese news has been saying about America for the last, I don't know, 5 years plus, it's all damning and very horrible, and it indicates that they want to go to war with us. And that's what they've been saying. They say this on the Chinese sites. Internally, their message is, let's go to war and destroy the America. Externally, they're like, guys, why are you doing this to us? Don't bully us. We're China. We're a little tiny country that's backwater and doesn't have anything going for us, and you guys are bullying us. It's not nice. But but then they're like death and destruction to the USA internally. So it's a very different messaging. But it says the ban will cost NVIDIA billions of dollars and affect its product line, with the company warning of a $5.5 billion write-down in the current quarter. The move is seen as an escalation of the U.S.-China tech battle, with the Trump administration seeking to limit China's semiconductor and artificial intelligence ambitions. But he put, and Wall Street is surprised, take the 14% of revenue that NVIDIA gets from China to zero. This should have been done months ago. No one should be surprised. I agree, actually. I really agree with that. And let me just jump back here. Let me go here. Let's go down. AI chips. So again, here's the H20. Stock down over 5%, down almost 7 this morning. I might actually look at buying some of this. We'll see. Brad Gerstner, NVIDIA Blackwells have started production at TMC. So again, this is them getting ready to start production in the United States. Mass production at both plants is expected to ramp up in the next 12 to 15 months. That's all cool. And this is what we were looking at for Taiwan Semiconductor and what they're looking to do with one of their massive plants. And then again, AMD producing their first American chips. We just got a lot of stuff heading in the right direction. I had one post, I can't find it, I must not have bookmarked it well, that talked about the actual overall cost and how much loss there would be. And it's just not that big of a deal at all. Let me go back, though. Let me go back. I want to let's go to the Trump section of this. Oh, and we got 2 minutes. Actually, I'll probably just wait here. NVIDIA is such a sure thing. I love it. This down day, again, NVIDIA's had some really good up days. This might be my entry into some leaps for these guys because I wasn't able to get it before. Let me just pull this over while we wait here for more economic data. I wasn't able to get it before, but now we got this nice drop because, again, it was up. I didn't want to buy into this when it's up 33%, but now it's up 20%. And if we continue to see some downside, this is just such a beautiful wick. This is a good wick. This is the kind of wick where you buy normally, in my opinion. So maybe I'll start stepping into some leaps for NVIDIA today in a small way, just to start getting myself allocated to it, because I do think NVIDIA is such a sure thing. And again, their black market will find ways to get into China. It'll just be slower, and we'll probably continue to try and hammer them down. But they're still going to be selling chips. There's so much demand. It's not like it's a big deal. They'll be able to sell to other markets. It's not like they can't sell to other markets. I think this is really stupid. I wanted to listen to this real quick. So this is important. So this is Bukele. Talking about crime. And I think it's important for people to hear this. There's another one from Bukele that's really good that I want to play too.
What about the human right for women not to be raped? I mean, what about the human right of kids to play or to be free or to go to the park? And what about the human right to live, or the human right to walk in the street, right? But no, they were worried about the human rights of the killers.
This right here, guys, that one statement speaks to all the problems that are happening in Europe, all the problems that are happening in Canada, all the problems that have been happening throughout all of the Americas, including the United States. It's what about the rights of the people who aren't trying to murder, rape, stab you in the fucking neck while you're sitting at a bus stop doing nothing? What about all these rights? Why is it okay to murder somebody? How can you be the murderer and the victim all at the same time? And I think this is just it's so descriptive of the problem that we have in humanity right now, that we're looking, and why Democrats will never win another election if they keep going down this path of, hey guys, that MS-13 gang member was just an innocent parent. Let's not worry about all the crime, all the trafficking, all the stuff that happened. The fact that multiple judges and people along the way have identified this man as an MS-13 gang member. Let's not worry about that at all. Let's worry about the fact that he might be innocent, potentially a little bit, maybe, and that he had to go to this horrible place. But let's not look at the positive impact that it has for society. Look at Carmelo Anthony case. Yes, exactly, Mike. So I think that this is beautiful, and I think there's so much truth that speaks of it, and I love it. I also want to speak to the judicial warfare that's been used against Trump. So again, Trump has only been around for like a little over 4 years now, out of the last 100 years, and yet 67% of the nationwide injunctions have been against Trump over the last 100 years. 92% of those are democratically appointed.
You know, we've had real abuse of this system where these judges, individual judges, will issue nationwide injunctions to stop President Trump's agenda. It's been abused. The statistics show it. Remember, 67% of all national injunctions over the last 100 years have been issued against one president.
2/3 of all injunctions have been against Trump in the last 100 years. 2/3. So this is judicial warfare. That's what it is, okay? Let's just be clear. Also, Trump is working on increasing deportations and doing it in a way that is very civil, and I think it's very, very smart to do this. Let's just listen.
As you probably know, we're doing a self-deportation, and we're going to make it comfortable for people.
And that's people can use the CB1 app, the same thing that let them into the country, they can use to exit the country.
And we're going to work with those people to come back into our country legally. The good ones.
So if you're here illegally and you have access to the CB1 app and you want to be able to potentially come back to America in the future, we will help fly you out and get you out of the country, and then also give you a path to citizenship and put you in a line to where if you're a good person, you can come back in the right way. Isn't this smart? Isn't this what we should be doing? Isn't this common sense? Oh, sorry, I missed it. Thank you. Industrial production misses. Let me go back. Thank you, sir. So retail sales looking good. Industrial production slowing down. No, it's not really a miss. It's good. Year over year, it's good. Industrial production month over month misses by 0.1. But capacity utilization is 77.8. It is a miss by 0.2. Industrial production year over year is actually a beat of the forecast of 1.2. We got 1.3, which is lower than the previous of 1.4 last reading. And then manufacturing production year over year is 1%. So manufacturing production definitely missed. It dropped to 1% versus 2.4% for a forecast. Let's look at that number real quick here too. But here's the important part, right? Here's the important part. Look at what manufacturing has done since December of 2022. It was in contraction almost this entire time. The line right here is the zero line, guys. This thing was in contraction almost the entirety since the end of 2022, and we're still in expansion territory right now. So this is good in my opinion. You're still seeing a trend towards expansion when you haven't had that in a very long time. I mean, look at this. We had one blip here, a little tiny moment of above, little tiny moment, 0.3, and then over here we got to 1.1. But again, that was one read, and then it was down into the abyss. And so now we've been at 1. I mean, look at this. We've been at 1. We went to 0.7, and we're back at 1 again. This is a good trend. This is a positive direction. It's expansion. We like that. Let's look at industrial. Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding, dings in 11 minutes. So industrial, again, if you look at the pattern here, guys, this is the 5-year trend. So you have to kind of look over the long run of things, right? The pandemic happened. Look at what happened before the pandemic. Look at our industrial production. It was falling off a cliff. All of 2019, before the pandemic, it was all contraction. During the pandemic, contraction. It wasn't until March of 2021 where we had that big surge in spending. That's when industrial production went through the roof, and then it came back down. And then it I shouldn't say immediate, because there was a period of about a year and a half where it was above water. But then since about early 2023, we started to dip into the red. We had a brief moment up, dipped into the red, brief moment up, dipped into the red. We've been in contraction. And now more recently, again, this year, we're in expansion territory. So if you just look at the trend lines of these things, I still think industrial production and manufacturing production are great, and retail sales was well beyond what it should have been. So these are all positives in my eyes. Now, today, they could be seen as negative because it could be seen as preventing the Fed from, or giving the Fed an excuse not to lower rates in May. And that's probably true. Unless we have some kind of liquidity concern and emergency rate cut, that's probably true. And capacity utilization, again, guys, so what's good about this is that capacity utilization, look here, after the dot-com burst, you can see how this went down big time. And then we had our boom, right? And then in 2008, great financial crisis, we had this big drop, and then we had a little baby boom. And then we went back into the red in 2016, and then we went back up in 2018. We raised rates as a test, and then that started to go down, and then the pandemic happened, and it just fucking plummeted. So we never really got better on capacity utilization after the Fed raised rates in 2018 prematurely as a test. And then the pandemic just butchered it. And then we popped out of that in a hard way in 2022. And then we've come down quite a bit. But now it looks like if we just go back to a shorter time frame here, it looks like we're actually holding on to this pretty good. We bounced out of November. We really need to see a continuing trend up or holding this level. So we'll see if that happens. I think it will. I think it'll be really good. Alex Garcia, I just looked at pre-market. I don't even want to open my portfolio today. Tesla's down 2.4%, MicroStrategy's down 1.6%, and the miners are down about 2.5%. Nvidia's down almost 7%. Let's look at the fear and greed index. The fear and greed, and Bitcoin is still holding perfectly, guys, above that downward trend line. I just want to remind everybody of this. I'm actually going to zoom a little bit here because I want to show just how we're holding this, okay? So this is a big deal. We're literally holding our support zone off of our downward trend line. That's a big deal. Let's see, extreme fear at 19. I'm willing to bet that's lower this morning. And why is this important? Because again, if we look over here at the extreme fear and greed index, we've been at this lowest doldrums for a while now. If we go to the 3-year, just look at this. The 3-year, we hit the lowest level going all the way back to September, October of 2022. When we hit the lows in the stock market. And again, we've been holding, if you look here, guys, this is kind of fascinating. The fear level, look at this. We've been under the fear level pretty much since February 25th. We've been in fear. And if you look over here, we were in fear too. We had a brief reprieve at the beginning of January, but otherwise we've been in fear since let me see here. Late February, we've been in fear the whole time. So if you're feeling pain, it's probably because for almost 2 months we've been in fear or extreme fear territory, and this is likely to bounce. You can see it over here. You can see it over here. You can see it over here and 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 over here. So even if you're getting scared about market conditions, just know that historically, when you're at these levels, you will get a violent rip upwards. And we're still just winding down. Look at this. Look at this catastrophic drop. I want you to look at something here. Look at the gap here between greed that started. Really, we haven't been in greed territory. We haven't been in greed territory since October of 2024. Look at how much. Look at these other times. This is historically really difficult for us to be this low for this long, going back to, what is this, 2015? This is historic levels of downside pressure and sentiment. Historic. Hey, Jesse, have you shared which NVIDIA leaps you're looking at? I think we looked at them in like one of the other videos. I'd honestly have to look again and see what I'm interested in. I don't even remember off the top of my head. I think I was going out a ways because I wanted to give it time to play out. So I wanted to say maybe it was like a January 2027. Maybe it's a June 2026 or something like that. But no, I mean, you can get a rough idea of some of the price targets. I probably don't want you to front run me. So I'd probably post it later for paying subs after I buy it. Because I don't love getting front ran. And that happens. And again, these are option plays, so you don't want to necessarily chase me right away after I buy something too, because that pumps up the price, and then the people that aren't the quickest on the draw don't get the best deal. unless we're just catastrophically dropping, and in which case people are too scared to jump in. But you just got to remember, guys, just don't like follow me blindly for shit. Not a smart move. But I'd say it's pretty, I mean, I don't know. Don't you think it's pretty easy for us to get to 150? I think it's pretty easy to get to 150. I'm actually probably going to take this out and just look at this real quick with a trend-based fib extension. We do have about 3.5 minutes until the bell tolls. Let's see here. So I'm going to look at towards a longer term trend. What do we have here? This is 2023. God, this is just so ridiculous. This chart is so ridiculous. People made some real money off this shit, man. So I'm just going to take the bear market bottom. It's all I can really do. So let's just say that this, the October of 2022, again, this did get hit hella hard during that time frame. And we're going to draw it probably up to here and then down to here. I think that is the right move. Or did we actually end up going lower? No, we did go lower. Okay, let me see here. I might have to think about the way I'm drawing this. I'm going to assume that this is making a lot of assumptions here. This is making an assumption. And actually, you know what? I'm going to draw it up to here. This is making an assumption that this is the bottom. Okay, and this is looking out years. Years. But I'd say it's pretty easy for us to get to the 160 range and maybe even to the 233 range for this stock between now. And again, that's not a crazy. The 233 range might seem high from here, but we've already been to like the 230 range. We've already been to the 150s. And we're at 104 right now. So I don't think this is a crazy number, but you could be like, you could look in the 200s for a strike price, maybe even 200. And then dial it out years and then look at what kind of return you get by looking at the optionprofitcalculator.com website. That's what I would do. I would look at that if you're just trying to get a formula. All right, let me go over here. We're going to move this to live. They aren't back yet. They're going to be back in a minute. And again, we do have, let's see here. We do have Bank of Canada interest rate decision coming out at 8:45. So 15 minutes after the bell, we'll find out if the Bank of Canada is lowering their interest rates. Scott King, hey, Jesse, I'm interested in your idea to start buying into NVIDIA. Where do you think it's likely to drop to? Can we chart it, please? I think we're actually we've already seen the bottom is my guess. But you never know. Again, we're down 7% in pre-market. I think we've seen the bottom. I don't have to draw out the chart. If you just look over here, you see this big gap. If we drop down, maybe 97 or something like that, get down to 100, 97 range, that would be a good level. We've closed all of the major gaps. I just don't see us going lower on NVIDIA. I don't. It's such a good company. And the PE ratio, that'll probably get a little bit skewed because they'll be losing some of their profits. But it wasn't high. It wasn't high at all. Let's go over here. We got these guys should be playing out in a second. Let me just refresh. And then we'll look at market open. And I'll stick around till at least 8:45 to see that Fed bank rate decision, because I don't believe there's much more that I care about today. Yeah, 9 o'clock is just housing market index. That's going to be shit. Business inventories, I don't know. Maybe that's interesting. Retail inventories, ex autos. The inventories might be interesting. I don't know that we're going to get any real signal from it whatsoever. So I don't care too much. Oh, it does say not live. Why does it say not live? Oh, there we go.
Adding what a lot of people like Dr. Mark Bristow at GOLD Barracks said would happen, although his is uniquely not doing as well because he's got a lot of international properties and saying Nico Eagle, that's the one. It's got the lowest finding cost, and it's safe gold. It's in good places. I think that you...
Yeah, we've in no way reached the pinnacle, for sure, Haley.
You can buy them and actually do better than the price of gold.
Market's open.
1% of the gold each year is...
Still waiting for this delayed bell ringing.
So there is some scarcity value with gold. Yep. And it remains long to Costco.
Let me pull some stuff over. We'll take a look at NVIDIA. Actually, you know what? I'll probably put NVIDIA down in the bottom.
Yeah, I wait for the bell, and I wait for Carl to tell us
just because it's going to be such a big chart.
Then I resume speaking.
All right, well,
so down 6% on the day.
You want to read from the script?
No, we're going to wait for Carl to tell us to ring the bell. We do this every day.
So we're down here. Actually, we're finding support right now. Isn't that fascinating?
Oh, a bell.
Look at that.
It's my 13th
we're finding
year.
support,
Give me a break.
guys.
I'm learning. I'm on a learning earnings get turvier.
At the bell, it is Gallup NYC, a nonprofit providing therapeutic horsemanship. At the NASDAQ, it's stock trading app Webull, celebrating a recent listing via SPAC. We'll talk to the U.S. CEO later this morning.
That's been a regular trade. Webull, that's nothing there, right, David? That's just kind of neither here nor there when it trades.
This is what pre-market looked like. Super red.
Have you seen the trajectory of
Let's
that
look at the daily.
No.
You got to see that.
Do I?
Oh, no, you got to see Webull. I think you
I'm
say,
going to kill this.
wait a second,
real
maybe there's
quick.
some things to talk about.
Was it a SPAC? It was a SPAC, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It was one.
Grab some NVIDIA at 104.
They had a
Probably
bit of
not
a
a bad
short
place.
squeeze.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, look at that. Thank you, Jim, for letting me know.
Right.
My.
Yeah, it was kind of Everestly.
Ooh, wow. That was Newsmax.
AMD's kind of a loser. It has not done well.
That's a good guess. That's
I
better
don't know.
than some
AMD might be interesting. I'd rather
administration.
stick with the best, personally. Personally.
Jim, you're mentioning Costco. A great chart is a one-year Costco versus Target, because you were talking about the Goldman downgrade earlier today of Target.
You know, it's funny. Look, I happen to like both stores. And I toured a nice Target with Brian Cornell a couple months ago.
Here, 1 sec. I'm just leaving this
They've got a lot
up.
of good products, but the prices
I'm
are
going to
high.
actually...
They don't have a lot of products.
I'm going to let these guys talk
priced
for a little
to, say,
bit.
2018, 2019
I'm
levels.
just checking something.
You go to Costco, and Costco is the great negotiator. They're in there telling people, listen, if you want to come in and you want to sell, well, I'll tell you, here's the price you're going to sell it at. They do have some Shark Ninja, by the way, which is incredible because it's Chinese 100%.
Yes.
But when I was in Costco 2 weeks ago, and I was right before a big hoarding day. The Sunday was a big hoarding day. Costco Saturday was just a very busy day. Holy cow. Yeah. The prices, they remind me of like when I was like, before the...
Younger.
Yeah. I mean, you go there and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, my. And then, the samples, I mean, it's just outrageous. I never eat before I go to Costco. I suggest you don't either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of hoarding, with retail sales up 1.5 or 1.4, Jim,
yeah, pull through.
do you think that reflects some hoarding?
Yeah, I'm dying not to have that pull-through thing because I think a lot of people at home don't understand it. But, yeah, you had to go. And I think that you'll find that people are filling up places again in their house. And, look, our cart was no different. Remember, I looked at as many carts as I can see. And there were all these staples that you thought maybe you'd run out of. I believe, it's real. People just figure they can get a good bargain now. It's not going to be as good. People are very
there's
rational.
a lot of there's a lot of buying going on right now. We've talked about it.
Market
We will
can finish
continue
green, I agree.
Because we're going to see some strong numbers and then conceivably followed by very weak numbers.
Let's just look over here.
Whether it's automobiles, obviously.
I'm going to mute these guys for a second. I'll actually probably drag this back down again, too. So just to get an idea, again, let's look at pre-market, just to give you guys an idea where we've been. So there's pre-market, right? Pretty red across the board. Magnificent 7, not magnificent at all. And then if we go to the daily, you can already see the repair happening. And Tesla's only down down 1.72 right now. So it's down about the same. But MicroStrategy and others, look at energy and minerals, health services recovering, consumer durables looking good, health technology starting to recover, communications, all the stuff on the right here doing really well. But even the Magnificent 7 starting to look like it's bouncing back a little bit. MicroStrategy showing really good relative strength, down 0.84%. And we can oscillate for a little bit. But even NVIDIA, I think, is looking really strong today. SMCI was down like 6%, along with giving some sympathy pains for NVIDIA. And now it looks like it's bouncing back pretty well, too. So, I don't know, man. I'm feeling pretty good here about market conditions and where things are at. I feel like they're doing all right. My Mara calls are still hanging on pretty good today. Oh, it looks like from yesterday, some of the September calls went up a lot. People speculating everywhere. So much speculation. Yeah, let's look here. Would you buy the new CND Sol ETF? I don't know. I haven't looked at it. So I can't speculate, honestly. MP up over 10%. What is MP again? Is that that's the mining, or not the mining, that's the rare earth element one? Is that correct, Macro? The one we were talking about the other day? That's cool. We do have about 9 minutes, guys, until we find out if the Bank of Canada is going to be lowering their rates. That would be fascinating. Let's look at some of the data that they've got. Feels like everyone's waiting for the market to rocket. Yeah, well, I mean, again, if you look here at this, Look at the space over here, from here to here. October, middle of October, November, December, January, February, March, April. 5.5 months of being underneath the greed level in markets for the S&P. 5.5 months. If you look over here, that hasn't really happened since 2018. And even then, look at how much more bouncy it was back over here versus this straight downward move since October in the S&P 500. So everybody pumped in to this, and you can see where we had the top here right around in December for the S&P, a little bit in January, but we really had a topping pattern and we're fucked for a long time. What is your insight on Meta? I don't like Mark Zuckerberg. I made a lot of money off of Meta, and at the end of 2022, into 2023, because I bought it when it was like in the 70s or 80s or some shit, right at its lows, and then I made a bunch of money off of that, made a bunch of money off of Tesla, and then I made a bunch of money off of Palantir and others. MicroStrategy is green, 0.3% right now. Nvidia is actually doing all right too, negative 5.53. Bitcoin is still around 84,000, finding the perfect bounce off of the perfect bounce. Again, guys, this bottom green line, if you look over in the corner here, right down in the corner, you'll see this bottom green line was the perfect bounce off of a 4+ year trend. And then we broke above a 3-month downtrend line, and then back tested it perfectly before going higher. This is exactly what you want. No 245% tariff on China corrects the record. Okay, let's see. Why not? Why not? Fuck it. We'll just say whatever we want to say anymore. I love it. I love the chaos, guys. What are we buying today? I'm just kind of hanging out right now. I don't know. I got to figure that out. I got to figure out if I want to do buying today. We'll see. I'm probably just hanging. I really don't give a shit right now. I just don't. Instead, China faces 125% reciprocal, 20% fentanyl, Section 301 targeted goods ranging from 7.5 to 100%. Section 301 targeted goods. Okay. So it's really 145 plus Section 301 tariffs on targeted ranges from 7.5 to 100. Thanks, man. That's a much better number. Let me do tariff over here. I want to make sure I get that up. So that's helping. That'll help pop markets today. I tell you what, guys. You know what would suck? Trying to be a bear with shorts right now. Can you imagine? It's just like, hey, I'll take it in the ass again. Woohoo. Thanks, Trump. I said this the other day. If you are short, Zuck can pivot. He's very smart. I think Meta will bounce. You know what I don't like? I don't like the fact that evidently he's been working with the Chinese government to help their censorship apparatus and then giving a bunch of American data or making it accessible to the Chinese government. I don't like the fact that they're still censoring things that they don't like on Facebook, even though they said they were getting away from all of that stuff. There's a lot of stuff I don't like with Zuck right now. Even though he's playing nice and acting like he's being a good person, I feel like he's not. Pete said, Jesse, I'm following your footsteps for a year now. Face dilemma filing taxes. What profession does one report while doing what you're doing to qualify income as valid for SS? I'm not sure what you mean. So my taxes weren't super complicated outside of the fact that I did withdraw $500,000 from an IRA of my wife's account, which sucked because that counted as income, and then it counted as, and then I got a 10% penalty. But I pay the penalty right away whenever I do something like that, because I don't like withdrawing from retirement accounts. But definitely never withdraw from your Roth IRA account ever, because that's after-tax dollars that don't have a penalty later on. So you never withdraw from your Roth IRA, guys. Not unless the world has fucking ended, okay? And you've got a good reason to do it. But the next in line would be don't withdraw from your IRA. But IRA is better because these are, with the IRA, you don't have, again, all of those benefits of the Roth. So you can just, that one's probably it's the lesser penalty. You still get the 10%. But again, you're going to get taxed anyway, and it counts as income. really, ideally, what you do is withdraw from your long-term holdings. But yeah, so I got fucked on that, and I had to pay that. I had about, between earnings and everything, I think it was like $750,000 last year. But I didn't day trade at all. I only did that in IRAs because when I withdraw those funds, they don't care how many times I went in and out of something. You just get the 10% penalty, and then you don't get the whole short-term capital gains. I went in and out a bunch and lost a bunch of money. So I ended up paying like $160,000, $159,000 and change, which probably has been withdrawn from my checking account today, because I've got a business, micro to macro. I've got I've got expenses that I was able to file under that. I tried to file my $7,500 for my truck. That didn't work. Oh well. And then, but again, when I subtract out all those things, it was about $159,000 in tax obligation that I had to pay for the year. And again, I don't pay taxes early because I don't want to give anybody a loan, especially the government. So it sucked paying that bill, but not day trading in an account where I had to worry about that was kind of nice. And then, and again, it sucks to have to withdraw this money, but when it's a fraction of what you've made, it's not as big of a deal. You just need to make sure that your purse gets larger. And again, I made actual income this year. It wasn't much. My income, I want to say it was like in the 60,000s. It's projected for more than $250,000 this next year, with the stuff that I'm doing on social medias and things. But yeah, you can file an extension, but I don't know your situation, man. I would definitely look at a tax accountant. What you mean is Social Security, all withdrawals, profits from investment accounts will not qualify as earned income to count against Social Security. I don't collect Social Security. I don't know anything about that. So, yeah, I'm sorry. If you're on Social Security, though, I don't know, man. You might not want to follow me. That's just something where, like, again, there's different age ranges and brackets of people willing to take on risk. I'm probably better for somebody who does not give a shit doesn't have any income they're living off of, and does not give a shit about losing money and wants asymmetric opportunities. That's probably somebody who usually is in a younger demographic and earlier in their investment career. That's the kind of person that should be looking at stuff like that. Or unless, I mean, you're older and you don't give a shit and you're like, hey, I'm probably going to die in a year of cancer, then, I mean, you could too. But normally it should be somebody who's got a higher risk tolerance that's looking to do these things. And again, none of my stuff is financial advice. I'm taking you guys on my journey and giving you my input and my thought process. But don't fuck yourself, for sure. And hopefully in a year, the IRS will be dismantled, or it won't be as big of a deal, and people with lower incomes will suffer a lot less. Trump is working really hard to help with that. MicroStrategy still about flat on the day. Mara down 0.52%. CleanSpark, guys, up 0.1. Well, no, flat. And then Iron down 1% on the day. So Iron's still very much underperforming. SMCI down 3.3, so it's recovering. Let's see how NVIDIA is doing in the bottom corner, down 5.42%. NVIDIA looks like it's finding support on a downward trend that's been there a while. ARKG's down 1.41% today. It was flat yesterday. And then let's just look here. Yeah, so today things aren't looking that bad, guys. And one of the things I love right now is the dollar. Again, everybody's painting a horrible picture about the dollar. I actually like the fact that the dollar's weak. That should help. It should give some tailwinds to companies like Tesla. That should be beneficial to them. Let me get caught up with comments here. Kurt Brown, so you're basically saying I should liquidate my 401k and put it in MSTS. Yeah, that's what I said, Kurt. You totally got it right. Good job, man. That's exactly what I said. Unlock real estate interest rate decision, bro, in a minute. Yes, it is. Let's go over and take a look. We've got about 20 seconds, actually, to see what's happening with Canada, America's hat. What does America's hat feel like doing today, guys? Andrew, hope the family is enjoying all their new Teslas. Yeah, I got 5 of them now. It's a lot. It's a lot of Teslas. So 2.75 was their previous interest rate, and it's stayed the same. No lowering of rates. Let's see what that does with markets, if anything. You got to remember, they've been dropping pretty hard. If we go back here, they started lowering on May 31st of 2024. They were at 5%. They're currently at 2.75. So they remain unchanged, but man, they've been going down like a decent chunk for a while. Man Mahindra, I'm 19, managing $300,000, goal $1 million in a few years. You're the perfect demographic. 19 is fucking amazing, man. Seriously, dude, that's impressive shit. Andrew R. Let me go higher. Mike said, yes, Todd Gleason, the taxpayer, is supposed to pay estimated quarterly taxes in Jesse's position, but most people just pay the penalty. Yeah, I kind of do pay some tax. Again, I pay the 10% penalty whenever I do a withdrawal. I pay that immediately. So I already prepaid like $65,000. But yeah, it's not a big deal. I don't care about the quarterly tax. It's too much to calculate. And maybe someday I will. If I get like a proper tax accountant that's working with me all the time, maybe I'll give a shit, but I don't. Jay Shelley, Jesse, how long do you think the Treasury could delay in buying Bitcoin? Could it take a while before they're able to pull it off because of the legal? And no, I think they can really. I think there's a little bit of legal gray area here, but from what I'm seeing and my interpretation of it is that the Treasury can and in budget neutral ways buy Bitcoin. So I think they can do that. I don't think there has to be any major delay. I think they want to be calculated when they do that. And we'll see what that ends up looking like, manifesting like. But I think that I'd be surprised if we don't see them doing it this year. Alex Garcia, Jesse, what do you expect from Tesla earnings next week? I don't know, man. Q1 is historically the worst time of the year for Tesla earnings. Because again, you just have seasonality. And so the sales aren't great. Then you got fire bombings. Then you got them ramping the Model Y. If it is a good quarter, fuck. Tesla is badass. but there's so many good things in front of us, and markets want to be forward looking too, right? They don't want to just weigh the past. There's a decent amount of market participants at this level when we're down 55% almost, that understand that Q1 sucks. They understand the fire bombing stuff sucks. Jesse, you don't do quarterly estimated taxes? No, I probably should, but I don't. But again, you got to realize my tax bill too has gotten a lot higher than it used to be. It got a lot higher. That used not to be a thing for me. So I'm having to deal with things that I'd never had to deal with before. But yeah, so Tesla earnings, I don't know. I'm expecting negative, but the market could also be like, well, fuck that. Who cares? That's what they did in the last earnings. They were like, they missed greatly, right? But nobody cared. Nobody cared whatsoever. They just looked forward. Tezos, can you explain one more time, please, why tariffs won't affect so much Americans than will do Chime? I'm assuming you mean China. Yeah, I can actually. I don't know if I have a good video for this. I can't remember. Let me see if I can find one. I had a good one. I just got to find it. And I could just talk to it too. There's a guy who did another video too that was kind of interesting, but let me see here. Let me go back down. There's a video I'm looking for. It kind of talked to Chinese tariffs. I don't know if I played it already. And maybe I could just talk to it. If I can't find what I'm looking for, I could just talk to it. So here's the deal. 1/3 of the consumer purchasing comes from the United States of America for the world. We have shut off all of that. China has an economy, and let me just go, maybe I have some better stuff under China here. I probably do. And so we'll talk about China. So again, lockdowns, they locked down their economy for 3 years. If you think things were bad in the United States for the problems that were self-inflicted, multiply it by about 3x on China, because in the United States, parts of the country were really pretty open. A year into the pandemic, we were, South Dakota, people were starting to get rid of their masks, and other Midwest areas, and down in Florida, they were opening up too. Other parts of the United States were opening up, right? China, for 2 more years, stayed locked down, destroying all their businesses. We do 1/3 of the buying. China's bond market is falling apart. They're saying they have 5% growth right now, but their bond market is showing 1.6% yields on a 10-year, which indicates that nobody in China believes the 5% growth is real. Let me just scroll down here. There's another. There's a post I did a little bit ago that covered a lot of things that I don't. And again, poverty in China is very real. They've been building out projects and things that aren't really helpful. They've been doing overcapacity on exports for a long time, trying to crush markets. Xi Jinping, literally, in one video I showed a while ago, or just yesterday, I think, was talking. It was talking about the comments of Xi Jinping just over the last year, talking about how they want to destroy the West and these other countries and make them dependent upon their manufacturing sector, which isn't great. And let me just see if I can find this other one, though. They've been spending like crazy. They make our spending look cheap. I want to find this. This is the dystopianness of China. Let me just show you this real quick, too, while we're in here. Oh, no, not that. I want to show you this. This is crazy. Just look at this. This is China, guys. Look at all the cameras. It's using facial recognition to allow you to exit the city or enter the city. This is China. This is the place that people are so enamored with. They do currency manipulation. They bully all their neighbors. But let's see. I had a write-up I did a little bit ago. Oh, you know what? I put it under predictions. I know where it is now. Let me find it. Let me find it. Let me find it. It's closer. It's not that far away. They're buying gold like crazy. Let me find this real fast, though. So there's one where I gave a prediction about China. First off, I said Trump has all the cards against Xi right now. But let's see. I got a better one. Right here. This is where I genuinely said I'm concerned about China. And I said they're fucked. They had a real estate collapse that's been going on for over 5 years. 60% of Chinese people's net worth is tied up into real estate. And in some of these cities, they've lost 75% of the value of their home. On average, across the country, it's probably closer to 25 to 30%. So imagine being underwater in all your mortgages and almost 2/3 of your wealth is locked into that. Then we have the 3 years of COVID lockdowns destroying millions of small businesses all across the country. And then they were pushing to all these like JD.com and all these other sites internally that everybody was buying their goods from, destroying small businesses all across the country. So their small business service sector decimated, absolutely decimated. Nobody's going to restaurants anymore. All that stuff is dying. Then you have their export portion of the economy that has just collapsed now. That leads into issues in their economy too, that for companies that sell domestically, because now exporters are like, can we sell it into Europe? Nope, they're locking down. Can we sell it into these other countries? Yeah, but at huge discounts. Can we sell it into the existing market in China? Yeah, huge discounts, but we don't have to do all the shipping, all the bullshit. We don't have to worry about them all of a sudden raising tariffs. Let's dump into our own market. They distort the supply-demand dynamics in order to force products in the rest of the world. Again, that's biting them in the ass right now because all that excess capacity is now focused internally in their own country. They've threatened all their neighbors. It's a communist dictatorship. They manipulate their currency. They've enslaved millions of people and harvest some of them for their organs. Think of Uyghurs. If you care about Muslim people and don't want them to have their organs harvested, they do that. They murdered over 60 to 80 million people is what Mao did during the Great Famine in China many moons ago. They've had the largest capital outflows of any country in history over the last 4 years. If you look at net capital flows for China, they're just gone. And they've been gone for over 4 years. So they've got a collapsing real estate sector that's essentially on the edge of a depression. They've destroyed their entire small business sector. They have their exporters panicking right now and pushing all their goods internally, which is destroying all their production for domestic too. They've got the largest capital flows in history of any country, and that's been happening for 4 years, and those will accelerate with the 150% tariffs, along with all these other tariffs. They had a debt to GDP that's 330% when including shadow banking and everything else. It's probably closer to 350 now. Again, bond market collapsing, currencies losing. But there's outside of the propaganda department, I don't think anybody's really doing well in China right now. So just realize what's true and what isn't, and it's bad. What's your opinion on FSD China revenue? I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be good. I don't even know if we'll see much of that in Q1. It's probably Q2 that we'll see that revenue. So, but I don't know. It could be all right. This company is just Tesla's getting better and better and better. And they'll continue to get better. I'm not really worried about them. Jesse, it would be beneficial to those who, like you, are planning to invest as a profession. SS would be helpful in the future should things go south in order to pay towards SS minimum 10-year requirements. Again, I don't know anything about Social Security, and I can't speak to any of that. Man Mahindra, Japan is coming in today to negotiate tariffs, the cost of military support, and trade fairness. I will attend the meeting. Hopefully something can be worked out, which is good. Great for both of us. I agree. I think we'll start to see some tariff related restrictions kind of coming or tariffs coming off for some of these, top 5 countries that we're working with, so that we can show good news and progress. And that will create a better environment that actually incentivizes more trade with each other. Isn't that what we should want? Hold on CDN Bank 2.75. Yep. Jeff L. Jesse, you think BTC got some resistance around 92? Yeah, I think next resistance level is really 88, where we hit the 200 moving average. But then we have a nice trough around 91, 92, where it will fall into that range before going higher. Resistance really kicks in around 97 to 100. Alex Garcia, being heavily allocated in Tesla, buying protective puts ahead of earnings, a good idea. Just thinking out loud. I don't mess around with anything but longs, long puts and long calls, and I don't even do long puts that often anymore. So yeah, it's up to you. I mean, I think having a little bit of downside protection can't be a bad idea. And if they outperform, great. It just all depends on how you're allocated in the percentage. You don't want to have downside or bad news benefit you very little. And you don't want to have good news blow you out because you had too much protection to the downside, right? You want to find balance. Jay Shelley, when do we buy Bitcoin? How could we prevent Bitcoin from spiking while buying as many coins as possible? That seems like it'll be really challenging. No, I mean, you buy Bitcoin now. You buy Bitcoin now. This is at the perfect level to buy, in my opinion. I'm leaning in heavier. Tezos, thank you. You're welcome. Rose Gold Gunner, what's your take on the cheaper car they might release, or do you think it's a cybercab with a wheel type? I think it's a cybercab with a wheel. I don't know, but they won't release that during earnings calls. Those are separate events. They might allude to something, maybe. Nick Holly, what are your expectations on Powell later today? I don't know. We'll see. Again, we're looking towards this replacement. He won't matter as much. I do think he needs to start. Again, some of the data that he got gives him the ability to talk more hawkish or not dovish. He can play the middle of the road, I think, based on the data that came in today. Jay Knapp, we need to. China is making deals. Not a good look. They're not really, though. Give me the details of that. Give me the details of the deals that they're making. Let me know how good they are for China. And also, here's another thing, Jay Knapp. Are those deals including making up for losing 1/3 of the consumer purchasing power of the planet? Are they? Where is that consumer purchasing power coming from? We're seeing deflation and slowdowns in major economies around the world. The number 3 player, Europe, is not exactly experiencing a boom right now. And they don't want China dumping goods on them. So what, outside of maybe them meeting with Vietnam and some other Asiatic nations and doing their little diplomacy thing, how does any of that actually fucking help them? And again, Vietnam doesn't want to be tariffed in the 40 percentile range. Otherwise, they'll have the same problem. They'll just be lumped with China and fucked. So I don't see them wanting to deal with that either. BTC is a bargain. Agreed, Haley. Roman Z, ARKG will moon if additional rate cuts announced. I don't know if ARKG will moon. But again, we got a long ways for that to play out. We got until January and June, at least in the ones that I'm in. But again, if we start to see that, if we start to see tariffs coming off a lot of different countries that we're working with, and we see better trade deals, and then we see better economic data than what people are expecting in the United States, and we see China capitulating, then and maybe we get something like, again, rates coming down because we're browbeating Jerome Powell all the time. And then we see a lower tax environment with no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime. Trump just indicated yesterday that he's pushing hard for Congress, even though they're on vacation right now, to get to work and to start to pass those things. So if we start to see some of that, I think we're going to see some positivity in the latter half of the year honestly. And it sounds like Scott Bessent feels confident about the tools that he has in front of himself to be able to push debt along. Jay Shelley, I mean, how will the Treasury buy a lot of Bitcoin without the price skyrocketing? I don't know that they will, and I don't know that they care. They'll just probably strategically be purchasing it. They might even, I don't know. It's one of those things where if they start dumping gold to allocate some of that towards Bitcoin, again, you probably want to do like a 1-to-10 ratio or something. You'd want to keep it low, maybe even 1-to-15, 1-to-20. I don't think they care if it moons Bitcoin. 44% of the hash rate for Bitcoin is in the United States and Canada. Actually, 38%, I want to say, in the United States of the hash rate of the entire earth of Bitcoin is in the U.S. There are numerous Bitcoin miners solely dedicated to the U.S. or have the majority of their hash here. We have probably the biggest Bitcoin hodl here. I believe Satoshi Nakamoto was Hal Finney. That means that he's got 1 million Bitcoin. I don't know. I just feel we did get more economic data. Let's take a look. Since it's still 9 and I carried around, let's just read it. Business inventories, 0.2, came in line. Housing market index is a 40 instead of a 37 or a 38. That's actually better than expected. Retail inventories, ex autos, 0.1%, came in line with consensus, slightly lower than forecast. Let's see what Rick Santelli has to say about this, if he has any color to add. 1 second here. We'll go back.
Inventories. Now, everybody's watching inventories. I want to caution, this is 2 months in arrears. This is February
Superchargers
data,
in India? Cool.
expecting up 0.2, and it arrives exactly up 0.2, following an unrevised up 0.3. So if we are pulling forward, we have had a couple of positive business inventory builds in a row. Last month of 24, we finished down a couple of tens, but nothing totally jumps out. Another number out, a much more real-time number, National Association of Home Builders Housing Market Sentiment Index, an April number, comes in 2 points better than expected at 40, and it's 1 point better than 39 in the rearview mirror for March.
Who expected housing to be better than expected?
So we see some bright spot there, even though housing, well, interest rates have been volatile, haven't seen a lot of dropping in the mortgage arena. And as Carl just pointed out, 432 and a 10 represents down a couple basis points, and it's been awfully steady as equities get a bit more red. Leslie, back to you.
All right, so that's all interesting. I will say this, though. Again, the 2008 great financial crisis, adjustable rate mortgages, Bank of Canada news, not really much. They didn't make any changes. But again, look at 2005, look at the NAHB housing market index, how it dropped into 2008. And then this is the absolute bottom of the market, right? But you can see how this started to decline massively before we saw this market come down. This was a complete blowout of this market. People were buying 2, 3, 4 homes. They were doing it with adjustable rate mortgages, which means that if the rates went up, they were fucked. Everybody was doing this, getting their extra homes because that's how they were getting financed. Debt that was just complete trash. You could just be horrific. And the rating agencies like Moody's were combining really shitty debt. And then if they combined shitty debt that was from different lenders around the United States, they turned it into AAA credit, which was just fucking stupid. We had all these horrible things happening, and we just were building like crazy and crazy and crazy and crazy. And then we had this massive collapse. Over here, though, we have the opposite problem. We've been consolidating in this low range. We have been low. We've been in contraction. We've been here for a long time since the Fed started to raise rates at the most aggressive rate in history. We were up here, and the housing market index was looking great, and then they just fucked it all and destroyed it. And for a period of all of 2022, 2023, 2024, over 3 years now, this market has been absolutely crushed. And again, when rates come down, and maybe it's not early spring anymore, I can't really say that because rates were climbing. They're starting to roll over again today. The 2 years down 1.3%, the 10 years down about 0.32. But rates will come down, whether it's later spring or early summer. They're going to come down, and the market is going to open up. 80% of existing of the real estate market is existing home sales normally, and those will start to come alive. Prices will start to come down. We still have record wealth sitting in our equity right now, guys. If they modify the supplemental leverage ratio to allow banks to expand their balance sheets, you will see refinancing like crazy. You'll see people that are purchasing homes. You'll see the market just open up like a blossom. Lots of good stuff happening. So again, yeah, I'm very optimistic about what's sitting in front of us. I think I'm going to call it here too. I think we covered a lot today. Again, the thing I want to say is just be optimistic. Don't give up on what's happening in the United States. We're doing a lot of things really right now, and applying pressure to China is one of them. And as you'll see with China, they will be the ones to capitulate, and it will happen much sooner than anybody understands. I'm talking like weeks, not months. And definitely not quarters, because I don't even know if Xi Jinping is alive in 90 days. That's my take on it. Okay? So anyway, love you guys. Hope you have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. I got my taxes done, so I'm going to try and enjoy life now. And some of you guys, it looks like, get to chat here for free today since I screwed up. Anyway, we're at 84,000 on Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is positive, and a lot of things seem to be coming back. So I'm feeling pretty good about today. You guys take it easy, remain positive, and again, focus on the good things that are happening. The builders are the ones that make the stock market go up. It's not the pessimists that make all the money. The pessimists, 95% of them lose money all the fucking time because they're so pessimistic. It's the builders that make all the money. Peace out, guys. See ya. Bye.
My heart goes out to you. It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured. Thanks to you. We're going to have safe cities, finally, safe cities. Secure borders, sensible spending, basic stuff. And we're going to take over.
Oh, my bad.
There we go.